Oh yeah, kind of good to see you. Thanks for good. You've been here. I think we're all gonna learn something. You're different. I love it. Like I know where everybody is. I've never lived in I can get it. So he must know. Yes, ma'am. Not to sleep tonight.
Well, let's go ahead and get started. Thanks to everyone for being here tonight. Thanks to the candidates for being here. I appreciate it. I'm Bill Snowden, the editor of the Wakulla Sun. The format tonight will be, we're going to go starting here, working down. Each candidate has 3 minutes to introduce themselves, talk about their qualifications, whatever they want to say. And when we reach this end, then we're going to pull questions and work back. It'll be a different question for each candidate. Hopefully we can get through maybe 2 questions to go down and back, but it's a lot of candidates. So we'll start with Mr. Raoul, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
The podium. There's a microphone there. Thank you.
Thanks. First of all, thank you all for being here. There's no time better now than to be involved in this political process. We need everybody involved in this. I think our country depends on it. So I am a 6th-generation Floridian from right here in the Panhandle Big Bend area. My family, the Raoul family, migrated down from South Carolina to northern Taylor County in a little place called Shady Grove in the early 1800s. They still reside there. My dad was born in a house in a little community called Idu, Florida. If anybody knows about Taylor County, he was born right there in Idu, Florida. I was raised in Tallahassee, attended North Florida Christian School, graduated in 1985. A month later, I registered as a Republican in July of 1985. And then in 1986, I started my law enforcement career that spanned nearly 40 years. I started with the Leon County Sheriff's Office, ended up at the Tallahassee Police Department, did 20 plus years in the Tallahassee-Leon County area. And then Sheriff Atkinson over in Walton County, when he got elected, he recruited me over to Walton County, and I spent about another 17 years there and retired last year as Chief Deputy. I'm married, I have 4 children and 1 grandbaby. And I always say, if I knew grandbabies were this good, I would have had them first. Agreed? Agreed. So I always get asked, why are you running for Congress? And I'll tell you off the bat, I want to make sure that our country stays grounded in the values it was founded on. That is our Christian family values, our constitutional values, our capitalist values, and our constitutional republic values. All of these values are under attack. They're under attack by socialism, by communism, by woke ideology, by radical Islamic religion. This stuff needs to be eradicated from our culture. I'm going to be the one standing on the front line fighting this. I want to see it defeated. I want to make sure that our values stay a priority. A couple other things. The VA, we need to treat our veterans better. If anybody knows anything about the VA, I call it the largest socialist program within the United States government. Because I'm talking about government mandates. The government tells our veterans where you're going to go, who you're going to see, what the treatments, whatever it is. The government's mandating everything about a veteran's health care. There's probably about 25 or 30,000 doctors throughout the country at all these VA places. I say we need 300,000 approved doctors throughout the country. If you want to see a medical professional, in Crawfordville, you should be able to see a medical professional in Crawfordville. If you want to go to Tallahassee, Pensacola, if you want to go to Austin, Texas, if you want to go to Perry, Florida, or Marianna, if you find a doctor you want to go to, you should be able to see that doctor. We need better care for our veterans. They need choices, not government mandates. I want to go to Congress, find like-minded people, and say, let's change this veteran affairs stuff and let's make it right. Taxes, I'm a big proponent of cutting taxes. Time. Thank you.
I see my timekeeper over there. Do we have 2 minutes, 3 minutes? What do we have? All right, 3 minutes. Great. Good to see you all tonight. I'm Austin Rogers, running for Congress. A lot's changed since this race started. It's all shown me the importance of this election. We have men playing in women's sports due to a culture of decline and decadence. AI is developing at a rapid pace. And a good man, Charlie Kirk, was shot and killed on a college campus this past year for merely speaking his mind. At a time like this, we can't afford to send someone to Congress who doesn't have the relevant experience or who doesn't share our North Florida values. As someone who's born and raised here in the Panhandle, as someone who serves his family with faith, and as someone who has been endorsed by more elected officials in this district, I want to relay to you tonight that I share your values. In addition to that, I'm the only person on this stage with the relevant experience to be effective on day one. So while my wife was doing her medical training up in DC, we missed being away from the Panhandle, but it did give me the opportunity, really the blessing, to serve as a chief counsel in Congress. So I served as Senator Rick Scott's general counsel most recently, and I also served as a chief counsel to Lindsey Graham, God rest his soul, and Chuck Grassley. Through that experience, I put pen to paper on bills that became law, conducted hearings and investigations into anything that you can imagine, and worked on the most cutting-edge issues of our day and age. So I offer day one results in a world where experience matters. And that's why, just even recently, I have earned the support of top conservative leaders in our country, including Jim Jordan. They recognize that experience matters. They recognize that I offer day one results, and that's what this district needs. I am a father of 3, and my daughter, Avonlea, she's 4 years old. She gets this really cute look on her face when she's trying to make sense of something I'm saying and trying to make sense really of the world around her. She juts her jaw out and she squints her teeth. She's got a little bit of an underbite, God bless her. And she juts her jaw back and forth, and she's trying to make sense of the world that we're living in. She's trying to make sense of the country that we're living in and the society that we're building around her. In so many ways, I want her to have the society, the country of our founding fathers and of my grandfathers. And that's a country of hard work, grit, determination, virtue, faith. And in so many ways, we veered off that path as a country. I want to help us veer back on the right path, and I think the only way to do that is by bringing North Florida values to Washington, and that's why I'm running. And that's why I'd appreciate your vote on August 18th. God bless y'all. Have a good night.
Good evening. My name is Evan Power. I'm the Florida GOP chair. For the last number of years, we've been fighting the fight in Florida. And I can say it would be no better honor than to bring the Florida fight to Washington, D.C. People talk a lot of things about this district. I've lived in this district for the last 26 years. I'm raising my children in this district. When I wake up every morning, I look at my two small children. I want them to grow up in a country with the same values and opportunities that I had growing up. But we're in a battle for the soul of our nation. If you had asked us 10 years ago if we were having a discussion about men and women's sports, men and women's restrooms, and labeling parents domestic terrorists, you would tell me I was crazy. But this is where we are with the Democrats. That's what they believe. That's what Gwen Graham and Jay Vijali focused on. I've not been absent from the fights. I've been here in Florida fighting the Florida fight. Whether it was Andrew Gillum, who was my mayor up in Tallahassee, you certainly didn't want him to be your governor. Whether it was Donald Trump's reelection, where we won by 13 points. Whether it was dark money flooding in from California to allow abortions on demand. We at the state party defeated that. I've been present for the fights of our time. I'm the only one up here as a Republican who has been fighting the fights as a Floridian. That's what's important. I've been in your communities, fighting the fight side by side with your RECs, your local elected officials to deliver victories. We look at what's happening in DC. Chuck Schumer has been elected to office longer than I've been alive. Imagine that. We need term limits. We haven't passed a budget on the federal level in 30 years. Can you imagine that if you ran a business? We need a balanced budget amendment. We need to make sure we get back to regular order to pass a budget. Because when we don't, we allow Democrats to make demands and get inroads in our system. That's why half the Republican delegation has endorsed me to be there, because they know I can deliver on day one. Beyond that, the constitutional amendment fights that we had, abortion on demand, weed on demand, we fought them on the state party. I fought alongside Governor Ron DeSantis and Attorney General James Uthmeier. James Uthmeier has endorsed me because I stood and fought those fights. If you want a real fighter who's been present in this state, in this district, who's went to every county every day and fought the hard fight, I'm your guy. If you want someone who carpetbag, looking for a new seat, I'm not your guy, but I'm empowered and humbly ask for your vote.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Joe Norton, and I'm here on behalf of my brother Jim, who is away at a different function that he could not get rescheduled, and he humbly apologizes for his absence, but he asked me if I could come and speak in his stead, and it is truly my honor to do so. And I can stand here before you and I can go through the list of all the things that Jim's going to do. It will be no different than any person up here on the Republican ticket. Smaller government, lower taxes, Second Amendment rights. I can talk about America First, all of that. But you know what? In my business, where I work in these days, my mentor, he always told me something. He said, Joe, don't tell me, show me. So let me tell you what, show you what, if you'll give me just a moment, how Jim differs from everyone else up here. For the last 15 years, he served as the school board superintendent over in Port St. Joe, Florida, a little small community over there, a place where I grew up. Back then, when I grew up there, my two older brothers, Jim and Bill, it was a mill town. My dad worked for St. Joe Paper Company. My mom taught school over there. Jim balances a budget every year for the school board. They have an A rating at Port St. Joe High School. They say the Pledge of Allegiance every morning before school starts. They have a student-led prayer before every school day. They say a prayer before every football game on Friday nights. We can all talk about what we're going to do, who's the most qualified, who's the this, who's the that, who's the other. He's living it every day. I can tell you Jim is a God-fearing Christian man, and that's his platform, God, family, and country. But the thing as his younger brother. We were lifelong, still are lifelong best friends. The thing that I know most about Jim is his sense of community. If you want to find Jim Norton, you won't find him in Washington, D.C. You will find him in the communities of this district. All you have to do, 35 or 40 weekends out of the year, you're going to find him at a ball game or at a community event or a church event or a civic event in somewhere in these communities. He's jumped off the platform at Wakulla Springs. He has eaten the fried fish at Posey's. He is and that's why people in this district, in this part of the district, right here in Wakulla County, like Bill Versages, former Superintendent David Miller, current Superintendent Rick Meyer, legendary football coach J.D. Jones, and current County Commissioner Ralph Thomas are endorsing Jim from this county. He's a leader throughout this district, and today I would ask you for your vote and support for his candidacy. Thank you all for your time, and God bless you.
Thank you, Mr. Jim Norton. Hey, y'all, Luke Murphy, running for Congress. Thank you for being here, and thank you for watching. I was raised in this state. I was raised by a United States Marine. I have 3 brothers. When I was 11 years old, I started working hard jobs on farms. I bought my first truck cash when I was 15 with no help from my family. My dad helped me sign up for the military when I was 17. I led a fire team in Iraq in 2003 with the 101st Airborne in the infantry. I led a recon team for my second tour in 2005 and 6 and was wounded at Sauter City. I've been through 41 surgeries. You know, in life you have to learn how to crawl, then walk, then run. Well, I'm not done walking, and I'm running now to serve you. I met my wife after the hospital at Walter Reed at Florida State University. She was on the track and field team. It took me 3 years to catch up to her, but she finally said yes, and we're raising 2 kids in the district up on the line, up on the Georgia line. You know, folks, we've all lived through our nation's longest war. But after 9/11, only one person up here was willing to go and serve. Only one person raised their hand and was willing to die for this country. My first tour, I think I made $16,000. My second tour, $35,000. Now everybody wants to serve. Not in that capacity, in this capacity. For a whole lot more money. I'm tired of watching this country go downhill. I've got a 5-year-old boy and a 4-year-old girl. I care deeply about this country and its future. We've been fighting since we got here. And, you know, I'm the only one on the stage that's worked in agriculture, worked in construction, fought in the military. And for all the people watching, who do you want to go legislate for you? You know, my daddy didn't pay for my college. I did, through the GI Bill, through blood, sweat, and tears. I wrote a book about my experience in 2015. And of all the books that were written in Florida that year, it was #1. President Trump asked me to speak at his second ever rally because he respected me. Governor Scott asked me to speak at his second inauguration as a veteran business owner because he respected me. I do not have endorsements from politicians who I do not like, but I am leading the race in small donors because I have the endorsement of the working man and woman, of the moms, of the nurses and doctors and farmers and veterans. For 20 years, I've been fighting with the VA. Most people in this room haven't been 20 minutes in a VA. So once again, who is the most qualified? Who's done the heavy lifting? Who has the calluses and the scars to prove it? I will serve you, and I will never let you down. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for giving us your time, and I certainly appreciate that. My name is Lee Jones. I'm running for the United States Congress, just like all these fabulous people up here sitting behind me. What I am not, I'm not an attorney. I am not a career politician, and I am not in the good old boy club. I don't go that way. I just don't. What I am is a career pilot. I started flying when I was 12 years old, washing airplanes and swapping out for flight instruction. By the time I was a senior in high school, I'd leave high school and I'd go out and teach people how to fly. I was already a flight instructor. I'm still flying to this day. And along with that, I did serve in Desert Shield and Desert Storm, believe it or not, as a civilian flying a big 4-engine jet in and out of the sandbox, as we call it. He knows what that is. And I was actually drafted at age 36 because they needed pilots, and they made me a major in the United States Air Force, and they said, go get them. So I did serve in Desert Shield and Desert Storm. Along with that, I've also been a first responder in New Orleans after Hurricane Katrina. I got out just in the nick of time just to find out that after the storm, I was volunteered by somebody else to go down and take over at the New Orleans International Airport to get people out of that airport and into safety. And I was responsible for all the military and the civilian flights to coordinate those flights to get over 5,000 people out alive. And I did that, and we only lost 31 people in the process. So I have served my country quite well, and also I'm the only guy on this stage that has actually gotten laws changed on Capitol Hill on your behalf. And I didn't get paid to do it. It was just the right thing to do, and I got the opportunity to do just that. I made sure that a law got passed back in 1993, and it came into law a little bit later than that, that made your airline travel faster. That nowadays you go get on an airline in the United States of America only. I made sure that a law was there to make sure that your captain, your co-pilot, would not be tired or fatigued when he took you on a flight. I also got another law changed that made sure airplanes don't bump into each other in the flight. Not on the ground, that still happens, but in flight that keeps them from having mid-air collisions. I was actually the chief test pilot for that at NASA for 4 years. That was my baby, and that turned into a law that's on the books worldwide and will never change. I also got a law changed when I got a chance to go up to Capitol Hill and talk with congressmen and senators one-on-one. Actually, I call one stupid. And I got that law changed that's been saving you billions of dollars every year since 2011. I've got worldwide experience. I know what I'm doing. I've been to communist countries, both China and Russia. I know what it's like, and I've actually been to Cuba too. So we've got to do something about that as well. But a vote for me is a vote for your future, and a vote for somebody that's been there, done that, and I can get things done. Thank you for your time. Don't forget, August 18th for all of us.
Hey, my name is Nick Zateslow. I am the first Democrat on the slate here. I'm Nick Zateslow. I grew up right on the south side of Tallahassee. I went to Rickards High School, but I grew up basically out in the woods and springs, hanging out around here. Spent way too much time out at Wakulla Springs and many of the other small hole-in-the-wall springs and rope swings, and just really enjoying this place that we all get to live in, and I love it with my heart. I'm now raising my 2 kids here. I've got a 6-year-old and a 2-year-old, and I'm worried. I'm worried that they're not going to see the mastodon bones at the bottom of the spring, right? I'm worried that there's changes that we're making, some little, some really big, but we're making them over the last 30, 40 years, and now we've got technology coming in. We've got a change in our politics coming in here, and we need somebody up there to help solve it, not to scream at each other, but to help fix it. I spent 25 years basically at the intersection of public policy and technology and building businesses around technology. And I spent the last few years working directly in AI, understanding what's coming, the job loss that no one's talking about, the kids and anxiety and social media that's destroying people and families and just not, I think we all know it's not good. Something is wrong right now, and it's not going to get better on its own. It's only going to get better because of those decisions that we made. I'm running here to protect our home and protect our families. I've been going around to county commissions on the data center fight. Y'all been paying attention to that. I was here with several of the people in this room, with Chuck Hess, who's a former county commissioner here, who's endorsed me and working with us. And I've been going and giving information on the ordinances and on the moratoriums that we need to do to help us protect our home together. That's not a partisan answer. It's just a person. Is someone doing something and I can do what I can do, and right now I feel like I can do that, and it's been really, really great. We've passed, I think, 9 of them. Wakulla passed theirs, Jackson County passed theirs, Leon passed theirs, so we're feeling good. We should do more. But we can't fight this 3,000 counties at a time and try and fight every bit of AI that's coming in different places with banking, again, with image generation, audio. We're about to walk into an election where we don't have a good ground truth on what's real and what's actually happened. We need somebody in Congress who understands that. And I don't think everybody needs to be an expert in AI or data centers, but it'd be nice to have one of us up there who are. So early on in the campaign, somebody called me dangerously reasonable. And I think it's a great way to talk about, if you think about me and the campaign that I'm running. We need somebody to come in and help protect our home. I'm Nick Zateslow. I'd love your vote on the 18th. Hopefully if we win that primary in November. Thank you so much. Appreciate the time.
Thank you all for being here tonight, and thank you to the Wakulla Sun and the Wakulla County Library for hosting us. I appreciate that all of y'all are here tonight because I think it's critical for our democracy, right? I think anyone who is an elected representative or seeks to be an elected representative needs to hear from their bosses a lot more often than they're currently hearing from folks right now. My name is Amanda Marie Green, and I'm running to be your voice in Congress. I felt called to run last year when the federal agency that I spent the first 10 years of my career working closely with was dismantled by the world's first trillionaire. I don't think he's a trillionaire anymore, but I can't really keep up with Elon Musk these days. It doesn't make sense to me that we would give power to someone who is far more concerned with adding zeros to their own bank account than the realities that we're living with on the ground, which is that food, gas, healthcare, housing are out of control and costs are spiraling. I have spent my entire career making sure that federal dollars were invested in a way that offered a strong return on investment for the American people and kept us safe. And so I thought as an expert that maybe someone in Congress would be interested in hearing from me about how dismantling a federal agency that did things like bought peanuts from peanut farmers to intervene in famine around the globe, that might not be a good idea for us long term. You know, oftentimes it's cheaper to address issues overseas before they make their way to our borders. But no one wanted to listen. And unfortunately, that's not unique to me, and that's not unique to North Florida right now. We're experiencing a complete lack of interest in the voices of the American people because Congress is corrupt. They don't work for any of us in this room. They're working for billionaires, they're working for corporations that are funding their re-election campaigns, and it's unacceptable. I gave birth to my son in January, and I cannot sit idly by while his future is robbed by the same people who have been put in power to protect us. You know, I think it's imperative that we have folks running for Congress who did not seek or aim to become career politicians, who are there to serve, who are there to address the corruption, who are there to bring down the cost of living. I come from a family of service. I was actually born out at Balboa in San Diego. My dad was in the Navy, and we moved to Florida when I was 2. And I was raised in Florida, so this is really personal for me, that my child, who will also be raised in Florida, has strong opportunities, and just as many, if not more, opportunities than I had growing up. You know, I live in Tallahassee currently with my husband and my son, the same school that offered me a quality, world-class education at Florida State. I'm a product of public schools. I'm incredibly honored to be endorsed by former Congressman Alan Boyd, who was the last Democrat to serve in more than one term in this district. He served us for 14 years, and I'm looking forward to following in his footsteps and serving on the Agriculture Committee, which is specifically responsible for supporting farmers and investing in our rural communities and offering oversight into the programs that help us most. My name is Amanda Marie Green, and I hope I earn your vote on or before August 18th. You let me know if you have any questions tonight. Thanks, y'all.
Hey, I'm Bryce Barnes, and I'm really happy to be with you all here tonight. I'm going to take a few moments and try to gather a little bit of my emotions. I've been at TMH all day because my 86-year-old father had a significant heart incident and now is we're waiting neurosurgeons. So I'm going to excuse myself after, but to go be back with my family. But I wanted to make sure I was here tonight. Every single one of you and your votes in this room and is who I would be as a representative. I deeply care about each of you, and I'm running to represent everyone. Despite what else is going on in my life, I will show up for each and every one of you. A little bit about me. I grew up in a family. My sister had cerebral palsy, and she was non-ambulatory and nonverbal. And I grew up into a family that fought and helped create essentially the public school education for people with significant disabilities, to be able to mainstream her, to be able to give her educational opportunities, and she eventually graduated from high school. And I watch my family also constantly fight the insurance companies trying to get her on the med waiver system, or fight for Medicaid, or fight to get her wheelchair reimbursed, or just basic services that somebody like her needed, to give her a fair shot at life. And it's really driven the work that I've done all of my life. It's the reason I've gotten into advocacy. It's the reason in my past I've campaigned for people that I align with their policies. And it's the reason that I'm running now. To a lot of degree. In Tallahassee, for folks that aren't familiar, I built an affordable housing community called Independence Landing, based on the work that folks have, based on some of the wishes that my sister wanted, to be able to have the opportunity to live affordably, and be able to live outside of my parents' home. And we're home to 58 residents there. And I don't say that I just built it. I went out and worked with, at the time, the Biden administration to pull down federal funding from HUD. And I also worked across the aisle with representatives and state senators to get over $30 million funded here from both the federal government and the Florida government. And I will say that I'm also proud that every time we've gone up for an appropriation in the legislature, I've had Governor DeSantis sign an appropriation for our community every single year, year after year. I say that because I know how to work across the aisle. I know how to actually get things done. And I don't just, I don't just say that I'll show up. I actually show up. I actually try to build things and create essentially the American dream for every family. And it's why I'm running for Florida's 2nd Congressional District, because I believe every family has the ability and should have the ability to have, to live with dignity, to live with an affordable health care, to live with great public schools, and to live a little bit better off than they are right now under current policies. So I appreciate you. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Yen Bailey. I am the mom of 2 teenage boys, the wife of a veteran. My husband is a former Army Green Beret. I'm a caretaker for my elderly father. And I've lived in North Florida my entire life. I was born and raised in Destin, and I've lived in Tallahassee the last 26 years. And I am running for Congress because we need hope and change. You might remember that I ran in 2024. I was asked to step up just 3 months before the election. And there was no hope of winning, but I said yes because I wanted the people of this district to know that someone was willing to fight for them, even when everyone else said it was impossible. I'm running again now because that's what we need in Congress right now. I'm so tired of seeing the people in Congress who can watch our Constitution be violated over and over and just say there's nothing they can do about it. We need a fighter. And I come from a long line of them. My dad was a pilot in the South Vietnamese Air Force, and when Saigon fell, he packed a plane with as many people as he could, and they took off, not knowing where they were going to land. My mom escaped on a fishing boat as bombs dropped around them. And when they got to America, life was hard. My dad did maintenance at motels, and my mom worked as a seamstress. But they believed that if you work hard, you can build a better life for your children. That's the American dream. And it's because of that dream that I was able to go to law school. And I've spent my career serving this community. I fought for abused and neglected kids through the Guardian ad Litem program. I spent almost 14 years as an ethics lawyer, making sure other lawyers follow the rules. Started a nonprofit to reach out to rural and working class communities that political insiders were ignoring. This country gave my family a chance, and I have spent my life trying to give something back. That's why I'm running for Congress. I've spent the last 2 years talking to people all over this district, and I'm hearing over and over that people are working harder than ever and still struggling to pay all their bills. They have lost faith that this government is still working for working people at all. That's why accountability is at the center of my campaign, because we're never going to be able to solve all the real problems until we get a government that works for people and not just billionaires and special interest groups. We need to get the money and the corruption out of politics. And when I get to Congress, I will show up. We need excellent constituent services. You know, there's no point in going to Washington and voting for programs that never make it back to North Florida. And I've been trying to prove how that okay. Thank you so much.
Actually, come back. I'm gonna pull from the random box of questions here. Oh, and I should have introduced the timekeeper, Heather Bryan, keeping the time tonight. Okay, what do you believe is the single greatest challenge facing Florida's 2nd Congressional District, and how would you address it?
Yeah, I mean, I think affordability really is something that I'm hearing over and over from people. You know, this is a district where 49% of the people work sometimes more than one job and still can't afford to pay all their bills, which is unacceptable in the greatest country in the world. We need to bring in better paying jobs. We need to diversify this economy. This is an area that's very prone to natural disasters. And so many of our industries here really get devastated every time a disaster comes through. So we need to bring in new industries. We need to lower the cost of living. We can start by getting rid of these tariffs that have raised the costs on everything. We need to make sure that we address price gouging and the monopolies that are also just raising the prices on everything. We need better health care that is affordable. Affordable housing, affordable child care. Just, people are struggling, and this government can do something about it if we have the courage to do so. Thank you.
Next question. Why are you the best person to represent Florida's 2nd Congressional District in Congress?
Thank you for the question. So, you know, I never intended to run for Congress. I've spent my entire career working on federal contracts and making sure that we fight real fraud, waste, and abuse. The sole purpose of the U.S. government is to keep Americans safe and to do things that invest on our behalf in a strong and sustainable future. The reality is, right now, the cost of living is far too high, and Congress is doing nothing about it because they're corrupted, right? Because they want to keep their seats, because they're so concerned with their careers as politicians and who's going to fund their reelection campaign that they're not addressing the real issues that we're facing. As someone who's fought real fraud, waste, and abuse, I would look forward to fighting that on our behalf. I'm also incredibly honored to be mentored by and supported by former Congressman Alan Boyd. He assessed the Democratic field and he went ahead and endorsed the candidate he felt could go to Congress, build strong bipartisan coalition, and work hard on behalf of North Florida's future. In Congress, I plan to serve on the Agriculture Committee. I believe I'm the only candidate who loudly and proudly constantly is talking about the Ag Committee, because there's a few things that we have to do. One, we have to support our farmers. North Florida is an incredibly rural district, and agriculture is always one of the leading drivers of our income and our revenue. And right now, whether we're talking about labor shortages, we're talking about the tariffs that are going unchecked and resulting in massive refunds to corporations, not to us, or we're talking about the inconsistency in USDA grants. Our farmers are having a really hard time, and they need an activist and an advocate up in DC on their behalf. I look forward to being that advocate, and I'm incredibly proud to be backed by both Democratic and Republican farmers already in this campaign. The other thing that folks might not realize about the Agriculture Committee and and the value add of sitting on it is that it oversees a lot of the rural projects that invest in communities like ours here in North Florida and like in Wakulla County. I think it's really important we have someone who understands how the federal government is currently working and also understands how it should be working so that we can get from point A to point B and get back to working for the American people. I'm also really proud to not take any corporate PAC money or any billionaire money. We have to send people to Congress who are willing to denounce all of the dark money that is in politics, that is taking over our government right now. We can't live like this anymore. And the good thing is every single one of y'all know that because you're in here looking for a candidate to vote for. I'm in here looking for your vote. And again, I hope to earn it on or before August 18th. My name is Amanda Marie Green. Thank you for your time.
What is one federal policy you believe has had an unintended consequence, and how would you improve it?
Unintended consequence. I think a lot of federal policy, the unintended consequences are an interesting question. So I think that when you, instead of getting into just one specific one, I think I look at how to think about federal policy. So right now, basically, like as Amanda was saying, a lot of it is written based on what a few insiders want, and then they get that pushed through, and they don't really care about the rest of it, right? How it flows down. And so what ends up happening is that some things even sound good on paper, right? That they write the law. But then by the time it gets down to us in our schools, in our roads, in our churches, in our local governments, it's a mess, right? It's not anything near what it should have been. The money isn't there. The idea didn't come down the pipeline, right? And so how I think about federal government policies is to make sure that the money or the effect of it touches the people close to the problem or who can actually solve that problem. So most of the time, that means county, that means churches, that means schools, that means people doing the work. I want to make sure that we push that as far down as we can get. Not get it stuck at the state level and then you hope you have a good state senator that now can unlock that money or those resources. People are struggling right now. We need changes very quickly, and that means changing the framework on how we look at delivering those dollars and delivering that policy. When we talk about the coming policies that are going to happen, we need people in office who understand the ramifications of what they're doing and aren't just saying, okay, well, my friend gave me the check, I signed the bill, and I did my part. Right? That's not your part. Your part is to be on the ground, making sure it's working. So the other side of that is I've already pledged many times to be not just a representative in DC, but to be a representative here. I'm already going to county commissions. I'm not stopping doing that. I'm already going to the state capitol. I'm not going to stop doing that. If there's good bills and good things that we need to push through, let's go and cheer them on and make sure we get the right people elected at the local and state level to do that. If there are things that are problematic, then let's fight that and let's do that together. That doesn't mean electing somebody to DC and then you say bye and you never see him again. I think it should be almost the inverse, right? Your representatives should be here. They should be on the ground. They should be learning and understanding what's going on in the real world that we all live in. I raise my kids here. My wife owns a business here. My family's from Panama City and Vernon and Wassissa and Lloyd. We need people who are part of our community and who are defending our community from those unintentional consequences, because we know they happen. I mean, just again, that's why I want to pick one. Look around at anything you care about. Is it working well? No, right? Let's stop doing that. Let's do something different. But to do something different, we got to elect somebody different. And I think that's me. I'm Nick Zateslow. I appreciate your vote. Thanks so much.
If you could pass only one piece of legislation during your first term, what would it be and why?
Term limits. 100% term limits. You know, the Constitution, even Benjamin Franklin said after the Constitution was codified and put into law, he said, terms were put in for a reason, 2 years for Congress, 4 years for the Senate. It says the Constitution was not written for career politicians, plain and simple. And that's become a real issue because you get people that go up there, and some of them have been mentioned up here, that are been in Senate longer than some people are old, and I couldn't agree more. And actually, I was one of the first guys that actually signed an agreement with grassroots that if I get elected, I will co-sponsor a bill. By the way, there's 240 last time I checked, sitting congressmen and senators that think it is time to do just that. But said that if I'm elected, I've made an agreement in writing with Ted Cruz and Senator John Kennedy, which I think we all love him. He's so funny. But they think it's time for that also. But, you know, I think my idea was 3 terms for Congress, you go home. 3 terms for the Senate, you go home. Donald Trump has done actually, he started out with 3 and 2, but now I think he's going 3 and 3 as well. But if we can get people to go up on the Hill and spend their time with, as well as in their district as well, that's also important. You have to be available to do that. But we need to get career politicians out of the business, and we got too many people going up there. I don't know if any of you guys have seen any of my TV commercials, but one of the first ones is, are you tired of career politicians going to DC to get rich? I'm one of those guys. I don't like that. And if we need to get rid of career politicians and end it once and for all and send people up there to go do their job, get it done, and then go home and then go back to their constituents. And I'm not even gonna take up your 3 minutes. I think that takes care of it. Easy question for me. Thank you.
What role should the federal government play in supporting local communities while respecting state and local authority?
Well, I'll have to say I totally agree with Lee's response. But what role does the federal government have in local and state? Folks, even though I served in the military, I am the biggest anti-government guy here. Everything the government touches, it corrupts, it ruins. You know, we heard the hope and change thing earlier. Well, hope's not a strategy. You know, a change cuts both ways. Change can be worse. You know, I watched Barack Obama divide this country. I watched him ruin healthcare. Watched him ruin every diesel engine in this country. A guy that never held a job. You know, I want the federal government out of our lives. I want them out of the IRS. I want to see a consumption tax. I don't think it's sustainable for half the country to pay into the IRS and the other half to vote that we need to pay more. You know, billionaires, corporations, they're people. And I'm not a hater. I don't hate Israel. I don't hate African Americans like the Democratic Party used to. I'm tired of the hate. Okay, we all have to wrap our heads around what we agree on and move forward. And I think, you know, Christian values, obeying the 10 Commandments, working hard, knowing the difference between a man and a woman. You know, I think it was Milton Friedman who said, if you put the federal government in charge of the Saharan desert, in 5 years, there'd be a shortage of sand. You know, Franklin County is 95% owned by the government. How are they supposed to grow? And I know we need to grow smartly, sustainably, but how are they supposed to have jobs? You know, how are they supposed to keep their grandkids here? You know, where are they going to go? You know, we talk about affordability. Well, I remember COVID, you know, weaponized this country, right? Remember CNN? They had the death count just constantly going. And just when Joe Biden took office, boom, it comes down. That's when things became, you know, unaffordable. We have to remember what got us to this point. I believe in what the founders believed: Christian values, capitalism, limited government. I want decisions to be made as close to the people as possible so there's accountability. So whether it's data centers or anything, I want you guys and your local leaders and our Congress to make those decisions. I am not trying to be a career politician. I agree with him. I would do term limits first, get rid of the IRS second. But I want the federal government out of our business. They ruin everything. You know, I want them out of our health care. That's right. The doctor is the smartest person in the room. He has all the liability. He took the Hippocratic Oath. Insurance doesn't. I want the middlemen out. I want to talk directly to my doctor. If I've got something that's very expensive to save my life, I want to work with him and pay him and exercise his plan so that I can go home and get better. But the federal government is a problem, and there's waste all over it. Thank you.
what accomplishment would you hope people remember at the end of this Jim Norton's first term in Congress?
Yep, Jim.
Yeah, I'm here, I'm Jim's younger brother, as I mentioned earlier, and I'm gonna try to answer this the best way that I know how. And I think the one accomplishment would be that he stayed rooted to the community. You're sending him to Washington. You're sending one of your own. You have the unique opportunity to send one of your friends, one of your neighbors, somebody that's grown up here in this area in a small town, public school educated, came back home, has worked here, has been in this community. As I said, if you want to find Jim, all you got to do is go to some function throughout this district, whether it's Bluntstown, Bristol, Chattahoochee, Vernon, Medar, Sopchocky, Crawfordville, Weewall, St. Joe. I can go on and on and on. And I think that one thing Jim would say is he was proud that y'all sent him up there, that he took good Christian moral values that reflect the values of the people of this community, values of the way my mom and daddy raised us, and took those to Washington and did the best he could, fought the fight that he could fight. And as I said earlier, we can all probably throw a net around our platforms, but Jim would want to be remembered for not being the representative that was sent from Washington to our district. He wants to be remembered as the representative that was sent from our district to Washington, that took good conservative Christian values up there, that believes in and fought for a balanced budget, smaller government, things of that nature. The platform, America First, putting us first, getting rid of a lot of, as you had a question earlier, about these administrative rules and regulations that are passed by, not passed by, enacted by, and enforced by non-elected bureaucrats, eliminating that, making our government smaller, getting them out of our homes, lowering our taxes, putting more money into your pockets. Those are the things he's fighting for. Those are the things that he's doing right now. He's doing it on a smaller scale. He's just doing it in Port St. Joe, in Gulf County. And he's going to take those same ethics, those same beliefs, those same philosophies to him that he is working through right now with him. And he's going to represent you. And he'll be proud of the fact that you all will be proud of him, and you'll have access to him. You won't have to look over your shoulder to find him when the hurricane hits, or God forbid, the unfortunate thing of all times where a student, something happens to a student on the 50-yard line of a football field. He's going to be there with you. I'm Joe Norton, and I'm asking you to vote for my brother Jim.
At the end of their term, this is basic, similar to an earlier question, what would you hope constituents say you accomplished for Florida's 2nd Congressional District?
That's an easy one for me. It's the same fight that I've brought as party chairman in every fight that I had. When Andrew Gillum was running against Ron DeSantis, I showed up and fought against George Soros' handpicked candidate. We delivered body blow to make sure Andrew Gillum wouldn't be our governor. Ron DeSantis, I would say, has done a great job as governor.
Yes.
We're going to move on and we're going to find a new governor, but we got to follow in that footsteps. So I'm going to show up and fight. I've been present for the fights of Florida for the last number of years. Whether it's Andrew Gillum, whether it's constitutional amendments, I've been present in the fight. But let's be clear here. You've heard a lot of things from the left side of the room. We're in a battle for the soul of our nation. You look at Mondami in New York. There's a primary in Michigan tonight where they may elect another Democrat socialist in a primary. That's what we're at war with. We need proven fighters who are willing to go to Washington, D.C. and fight against the mold of the people in D.C. That's why I have the support of the delegation, the Republican delegation who've endorsed me, why James Uthmeyer's endorsed me. I will take one exception to you, Mr. Murphy. I have 24,000 donations from 4,200 people because they know across this country that I will fight each and every day for the soul of this nation to make sure Republicans win, because as Ronald Reagan used to say, America's the last hope. During COVID, Florida was the last hope. We fought back, we won. That's why we're free. I want to take that Florida fight to Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C.'s broken, it needs change. There's no better fighter than the guy who stood in the trenches with our elected officials here in Florida than me. And I will deliver wins in Washington, D.C. I will fight with those people. You know, you look at the left side of the room, I went to one of their debates. It was kind of fun. Sorry. They talked about abolishing ICE, socializing medicine. That's not what we want here in Florida. We're the exact opposite. That's why I've been fighting as your Republican Party chair at the state level. That's why I will continue to fight each and every day for each and every one of you. I will bring that fight to every county. I will continue to fight like I have as the party chair in each and every county. I was in Holmes County before it was fun. I know Taylor County because it went through several hurricanes. They lost their #1 employer. Now they're building missiles. I know Liberty County because it has no highway or interstate and it has no beach. It's a different place. I know Wakulla is unique as it's south of Tallahassee and has a beach community. I want to deliver for you. That's why I humbly ask for your vote as Evan Power.
What do you believe is the most important responsibility of a member of Congress, and how would that principle guide every vote you cast?
As a member of Congress, you're one of 435 people elected. You're one vote. There are a lot of things that the Constitution still empowers you to do in Article 1. That includes oversight and investigations. They have the ability to hold the executive accountable, to look into the executive branch and look at what they're doing, which is important when you have especially an opposite party in power. They have the ability to investigate companies, conduct all sorts of investigations that bring light to corruption, fraud, waste, and abuse in government and corporations. As a congressman, you can also hold hearings on some of the greatest issues that impact our day and age. That includes everything from college sports, which I'm assuming in Wakulla is important. I'm not sure if we got FSU fans in the house, Gators in the house. I won't say who I'm a fan of because I don't want to alienate any of y'all. But
Bama.
Bama, yeah. How dare y'all? I'm a Bama fan. But really, we have Democrats with a much different vision of the world and fundamental principles than we might on the conservative end of the spectrum. But college sports is something that continues to unite us, and that's something that you can hold hearings on. That's something that I did personally lead hearings on. So you can lead hearings. That's another awesome power that you have as a member of Congress. And then the final thing is passing bills. So, as a general counsel, as a chief counsel in Congress, I was able to put pen to paper on bills that became law, including the One Big Beautiful Bill, which included $70 billion of funding to ensure the integrity of the United States. But what I'll say is this. The real thing that I'm running for and the real thing that I'm running to do is bring about a culture change. Again, I would be one of 435 members of Congress. That's one voice out of 435. But what we need now more than ever is a culture shift, a paradigm shift. You have right accusing left, left accusing right. As I said at the outset, our civic discourse is at an all-time low. A good man was shot and killed for speaking his mind. We have to restore some sense of normalcy. I worked for Senator Lindsey Graham, who was a member who would work across the aisle. We need that culture shift where we can continue not seeing each other as enemies, but focusing on what unites us as Americans. In addition to that, we need a culture shift to ensure that we return to our principles of faith and of virtue as a country. In so many ways, we've veered off that track, and that's something else I would really like to help us put ourselves on the right track for. So culture change is at bottom what I'd say is our fundamental do. Thank you.
How will you ensure that rural communities like Wakulla County have a voice in Washington alongside larger metropolitan areas?
So I've been talking about this a lot as I go across this district, and I truly believe that smaller communities are important. As I've traveled from Walton County to Taylor County and everything in between, I know what the culture and the challenges of this district are. We need jobs. We need jobs in this district, not just the high-tech manufacturing jobs, not just the I-8 development jobs. We need trade jobs. We need farming jobs. As I have talked to many farmers and have been endorsed by many farmers throughout the district, one thing I consistently hear, farming is a dying industry. It doesn't need to be a dying industry. It needs to be a thriving industry. And we need to have farmers that are passed down for many generations to come. And we need to make farming really an incentive. We need to incentivize it. We need to make farming profitable through tax cuts, through deregulation. We need to give these farmers the tools and the money they need to help themselves and to help to be able farming growing. We see what happens with the imports of different foods, how it affects us. We need to be using our products here. But the smaller communities of this district mean something. And too often they get overlooked. My family comes from a small community. I know what it's like to not be able to put two nickels together. I know what it's like when inflation rises and my salary doesn't. It's tough. And we need to put money back in our pocket. Not just put back into our pocket. We need to let the government let us keep our money. And that's what it really comes down to, affordability, is being able to keep our money. The U.S. government is the greediest organization in the country. Have you ever heard a politician get up and say, well, when I go to Congress, I'm going to cut spending? Anybody ever heard that? Have anybody ever known the U.S. government to cut spending? Never. I'm about eliminating government. However, what is the number one function of government? Public safety. That is our military, that is our courts, our law enforcement, our corrections, our fire rescue. Hands off. They will always be supported. They will always be well funded. Every other form of government can either be reduced, restricted, or eliminated. If the government doesn't exist, it cannot spend money. We must eliminate government. That puts money, it actually allows us to keep our money. There's no reason the government needs, I hate subsidies. I hate it when they send us these checks and say, hey, here's a check for you. What does the government have to do in order to give you that check?
Take it.
They got to take it. How about just let us keep it? How about just let us keep it? So affordability, keeping money in our pockets, that's what we need in these communities. I'm Audie Rowell. I humbly ask for your vote.
Thank you. Thank you all. Are y'all up for one more round of questions? Can we reduce the time to 2 minutes? So.
Yeah.
We're here for you, man.
Lightning round.
Do we have time for closing statements too?
Yeah, one.
Do you want to just do a closing then?
There we go.
There you go. Just do it.
Okay. Do you want to close?
Yes, sure. 2 minutes or 1 minute? 2 minutes. I hope I don't take up 2 minutes. So there's a lot of issues that I have not talked about. So I'm going to encourage you to go to my website, audieforflorida.com, talk about all of my issues. I put it in writing. I want everybody to know what I stand for. But I humbly ask for your vote. This is a critical time in our country for us as we see what's going on. Save America Act, all kinds of issues, taxes, all that stuff we need, and especially socialism and communism. That's a very big issue for me. It's real. I wish it wasn't. but the socialism, the communism, the woke ideology is real stuff. I'm going to be on the front lines of that. Nobody's going to tell us how to talk. Nobody's going to tell us what pronouns to use. You should not be shamed for that. So I want to be in the fight for that. I want to make sure that you keep your money. I think that's very important to me, that you keep your money. We do away with the Department of Education, IRS, those kind of things. But please go to my website, audiforflorida.com, see all of my positions. And again, I humbly ask for your vote. Thank you. I did have one other thing. So I did want to talk about my endorsements. I have about over 20 endorsements from Walton County to Taylor County. I don't have any endorsements outside of District 2, sheriffs, former sheriffs, commissioners, former commissioners. I even have the former Lieutenant Governor of Florida that has endorsed me. So I'm very humbled by all of those endorsements, and that's really a product of 40 years of being a public servant and building relationships throughout this District 2. Again, thank you.
You know, a lot of folks know me as Senator Rick Scott's general counsel. That's because that's what I was most recently doing. Folks know that I served as a chief counsel on the Senate Judiciary Committee. Something that a lot of people don't know about me is that I also got a master's in theology and studied theology in undergrad at Bible College. There was a preacher during that time named Frederick Buechner who described vocation, or God's calling on your life, as a place where your deep joy meets the world's deep need. For me, representing this district is that place. The deepest joy that I've had in my career is serving this district, helping out small businesses, helping out families in this district as a general counsel in Congress. And there is now more of a need than ever for strong conservative leadership in Congress. The folks that have endorsed me acknowledge that. Includes Jim Jordan, that includes more elected officials than anyone else in this race in this district. And I am running to hit that spot of vocation where my deep joy meets the world's deep need. And that's why I'm running. That's why it would be the honor of a lifetime to serve you guys. Thank you.
I've spent my life electing other Republicans to office. I never thought I would run for office myself. But I wake up every day with 2 small children. When I became party chairman in not the ideal circumstances. My predecessor did some things, we had to intervene. I asked my wife, we had a 3-month-old. I'm gonna take some time away from our home, but I think I need to do this. I thought it was a tough conversation. She said, our future of our country, our future of our son's worth fighting for. When Neil Dunn retired, I called and had the same conversation. Thought it was gonna be even tougher because we had 2 children then. We had an 8-month-old and a 1.5-year-old. And I said, hey, I'm feeling called to do this. She said, the future of this country is worth fighting for. The future of our children is worth fighting for. That's why I'm in this race. It's very simple. I've been in these fights. Florida is the success story. We need to deliver that to Washington, D.C. That's why James Huthmeyer endorsed me. That's why a majority of the Republican delegations endorsed me. That's why former county commissioners and county commissioners across this district have endorsed me. Because I'm not new to this district. I've been working it for years before I became chairman, when I was a Leon County chairman, trying to fight against Andrew Gillum. You know, I'm winning donors across, be bringing in small donors. I don't need big money. I don't need to self-fund. Other people in this race have self-funded millions of dollars. I'm fighting the hard fight. I want to bring victories to this district. I'll be the same accessible person I've been as chairman, up and down the ballot every time. I look forward to serving you in Congress. Thank you.
You know, I believe it was Ronald Reagan that coined the phrase, something to the effect that the words that most Americans fear the most is when someone shows up and knocks on the door and says, I'm with the government and I'm here to help. That was about 46 years ago. And as we sit here today, many of us in this room, me included, and many of you, y'all recall those words. And my question to you all is, is, has that changed? Has that changed? We've had a lot of politicians go up there to Washington in that 46-year period of time. But I think it still holds true. Government hasn't gotten smaller. It's gotten bigger. Taxes haven't gone down. None of this has happened. It's time to send one of ours up there, one of your neighbors up there, someone who's going to go up there and fight to try to make that change so that 46 years from now, no one's saying, I'm with the government and I'm here to help. And that strikes fear in the citizen or the constituent. Go to everybody's websites. Look at what they're saying. As I said, there's probably very comparable. Look at their donors. Look where the money's coming from. It's just like everything else. Follow the money. See who's got the money, where it's coming from. You go do the digging. You've got their cards right here. I would suggest that you do that. And when you do that, I think you will find that Jim Norton's money's coming from this district. He's here to represent the citizens of this district. He's here to represent the citizens of Wakulla County, and Gulf County, and Franklin County, not just Leon County and Bay County. He's going to serve them as well, but he is going to fight for the small man, these rural counties. And I would ask that you support him here in 2 weeks when you go to the polls.
Born and raised as a country boy in Florida, I only left to serve this country. And as soon as I could come back, I did. My dad raised us to love Jesus and to love this country. You don't have to go to college to love Jesus and have a special relationship with him. Folks, only one raised their hand and served you. I'm asking you to let me serve you again. I agree. Follow the money. There's big development in this race. There's special interest. I'm trying to earn your vote, your endorsement, not career politicians. My whole life I've worked to have a good record, and I'm putting it out here on the line right now. I know about sacrifice. For 20 years I've been dealing with pain from this injury and for bad decisions from politicians. But I'm a happy guy. I wake up grateful every day. And I think the Lord had to put me through all that so I'd have the wisdom to do this. Wisdom that you can't read in a book. I spent my whole life serving others, unlike everyone else on the stage. And I'm asking you, just let me do it one more time. Find me on Facebook. Find me on our website, LukeMurphyForCongress.com. I'm asking you, please, for your vote, join Team Murph. Thank you all. Love you. God bless you.
Once again, thank you for this opportunity for all of us here. And I couldn't say it 100% any better than he did. I grew up in the church. My grandfather, I grew up with my grandfather, my grandmother, and my mother. My grandfather was a Methodist minister. My grandmother was the church secretary. My mother was the church youth director. So guess where I was? 7 days a week. You couldn't be a better way to grow up there. I firmly believe in my God and my Jesus Christ. 100% I am a Christian. Now, that being said, I think I already made my case of what I've already done for this country, both in changing laws, saving you billions, and also serving Desert Shield, Desert Storm as a pilot, as well as saving lives in Louisiana after Hurricane Katrina. I couldn't agree more with some of my colleagues here. Federal government needs to get smaller. And one part of it that needs to go away is the Department of Education. We need to keep education in our state, in our counties, and in our cities, and let our school teachers do what they do best. We need to make it easier for them. Number one. And number two, we also need to, I forgot my train of thought there for a minute. One thing, let me ask you this. I've been all around the world many, many times. I've flown international most of my life. How many people have here been to a communist country? You have, okay. I've been to 3 of them at least. Communism is on the rise to attack this country. We cannot let this country slip into communist control. And that we really have a problem with that. You get me up on a hill, I will fight tooth and nail the last breath I've got to make sure communism doesn't come here. Thank you.
So I'm running a little bit of a different kind of campaign, talking about things that not everybody else up here is talking about, but I think are very important. The campaign isn't about just AI and data centers. It's about what goes into those things and what that's changing for all of us. It's about healthcare. United Healthcare is now having an automated AI denial system, mainly for Medicare, Medicare Advantage patients, right? It's affecting you right now. It's in schools. My son's in first grade. Leon County is using AI in the classroom this year. They tested it last year. Godby has cameras and drone deployments all the time going on. It's a test run. It's the first high school in the country. They're bringing things in here at a different scale than what we're used to. The data centers down in Polk County that just got approved uses as much electricity as Tallahassee, Panama City, and Gainesville combined. One building, one computer. There's hundreds all over the country being built. It's just a different scale, talking about a road versus an interstate on what this is. And it's coming really fast. They're putting hundreds of billions of dollars into this, and it's coming from Saudi foreign wealth funds. It's not our money. It's not our investment. We don't own this, right? So we need somebody in Congress who understands that and is gonna fight to make that better. This fight involves all the other fights. If you don't get AI right, if you don't get it right at the base level, it's like electricity. We don't ask businesses, are you an electricity business? Use electricity? Yeah, if the power goes out, nobody expects you to be open. AI is gonna be doing that very soon, except it's also some of the employees. It's also the regulation space. It's also law enforcement and surveillance. It's coming around for all of us, whether you like it or not. So I'd appreciate your vote on it. Glad to talk about it with anybody. We've been doing meet and greets. We've had over 90 with 4,000 people in living rooms from Seaside to Perry. If you're interested in doing it, again, we don't ask party. I say bring your friends, bring your family. I'll bring some pizza and beer and let's hang out and have a conversation on it. So thank y'all so much. Nick Tesla, appreciate it.
So I'm here seeking your vote for the Democratic primary, right? Which is on or before August 18th. But I want to ask every Democrat, NPA, and Republican in this room tonight to go to our website. We've got flyers out on the chairs, amgforcongress.com, and look at our top priorities. I was raised in a military family and I was raised in a hunting and fishing family, and so Lord knows there are Democrats and Republicans and people who would hate to be called a Democrat or Republican throughout my entire family. And the reality is most of us do agree on a lot of these issues. I agree on term limits. I agree on banning individual stock trading. One of the questions that was asked tonight is, what is one bill that you would pass in Congress? I firmly don't believe we're going to be able to get the money out of politics. We're going to be able to get all these career politicians and these leaders who do not serve us out until we ban individual stock trading and we really address the corruption that we're seeing throughout our government. It's unacceptable. I believe that we need to absolutely address how expensive taxes are for working families, and a lot of that comes down to looking at who's not paying their fair share. And I'll tell you what, it's no one in this room. I'm going to Congress to serve every single one of you, whether or not you're a Democrat, you're a Republican, you're NPA. I'm going to Congress to work with anyone in Congress who is willing to be honest with themselves about what the American people care about. We care about ensuring that our kids can buy a home before they're 42 years old, which is the average age of the first-time home buyer right now in this country, right? We care about whether or not there's food on the table and a roof over our head. And someone wants to call me a socialist. I don't personally self-identify as a socialist, but a wise man once said, what you did for the least of us, you did for me. And so I'm running on those values. I am Amanda Marie Green, and I hope that I've earned your vote for the Democratic primary this year. Thanks, y'all.
So I mentioned earlier that as I've been out talking to people all across this district the last 2 years, so many people have said they have lost faith in this government and that change is even possible anymore. And, I've been trying to tell people change is coming if you believe. And, they say, every politician says they're gonna change, they're not gonna be corrupt, they wanna serve you. How can we trust you? Trust has to be earned. I have spent my entire adult life serving this community. I probably even before my adult life, doing everything that I can to try to help other people. I have a record of this. And as I have been on the campaign, I have made it a commitment to show up everywhere, all across this district. You know, when I first started running and I went out into the rural communities, so many would say, I would hear over and over that it had been the first time in years that any politician had reached out to these communities. That's one of the reasons why I decided to run again, because so many people don't have a voice in this district. And I'm proud to say that I have developed a reputation now of being someone who shows up. You know, people keep saying, oh, you're everywhere, and I am. We have a grassroots campaign. This is the only campaign out of all of the candidates that was able to qualify to get on the petition or get on the ballot by petition. Because we have a lot of people who believed and who showed up. We've built coalitions all across this district, knocked on a lot of doors, talked to so many people. Because I will not answer to anyone but the people of this district. You know, I'm not taking any corporate PAC money, no money from billionaires. I'm Yen Bailey, and I hope I will earn your vote. Thank you.
I want to thank all of y'all for coming tonight and sharing your views. I think it's very important, and I appreciate all of you putting yourselves out there as a candidate, because democracy doesn't work if we don't have people to vote for. And I want to appreciate the audience for being here tonight. There are straw ballots. We're doing a very unscientific poll. You get a chance to vote. There's also snacks. Thank you to Heather, the timekeeper. Thank you to Joanne. And thank y'all for being here.
And thank you.
I just want to get a picture, so I think we're gonna have to do that.
Bring it in, bring it in, bring it in.
Oh, come on. I'll get back.
I gotta back up.
I know. When's the last time this district had this many registrants?
Yeah, come around a little bit more. Thank you. Okay, what a great looking good bunch. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Are y'all looking at me or everybody else?
We're looking at you.
I know I'm hard to look at, but okay. Thank you.
You got
Great.
film in that
You're
thing?
sweet. Thank you.
Wind it up?
Yeah, wind it up.
I used to have one of those. I'm gonna give a good report to
Thank
your
you guys
brother.
for coming tonight. Were there any questions you had?
Go, no.
Oh my God.
Come on.
12 people at the same time, just a lot of information. So